Another welcome to another week of the New Labor Movement Show. I'm one of your hosts, Troy.
My name is Ray.
We back another week.
It's still Ray.
Back another week to talk local law, labor, and politics.
And today we have an extra local twist to the show, don't we, Troy?
If you call it that. So as before, we promised we're going to try to get heavily into the political races coming up, like the one in June, the primary. So as we started doing research and trying to find out information, like we don't like having too much big, long, drawn-out explanations of what we're trying to do. So I happened to call, as I'm doing research, I saw a name on running for candidate that I happen to know. So I reached out to try to get explanation. The explanation was so simple. I asked, would you mind coming on and being part of our show? And that's what we ended up today.
Now, when you say, just for clarity, you know her in what capacity? So that way the audience doesn't think you're playing favorites or anything
Exactly.
like that.
Full disclosure.
What is your full disclosure? What's your affiliation, if any?
She actually ended up being a teacher at a business training class that's offered to the community called WEBO. WEBO stands for Workshop and Business Opportunities. So she was one of my instructors at that class, and then I still kept contact, and I reached out to her when I saw her name. And I know she was always on point in class. She was an excellent teacher. So I said, let me reach out and see if she's willing to speak to us, and she was glad to do it. So
now, for full disclosure, neither one of us are in the district neither one of us live in the district that she's running for, so we don't have a dog in the fight. So
correct.
I want, we have to have full disclosure. Neither one of us live in her district, so we've gained nothing by bringing her on.
Right. No more than knowledge.
Listen, knowledge is power.
Right. All right. So let's bring on our guest for this week. We are speaking with Tamika Mapp. So
there she is.
Tamika, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
And like I said in the pre, I feel out of place. Two lovely hosts and guests with a background, and me with my living room.
It's fine. It's fine.
You'll get there one day.
Yes.
Like I said, one day.
Yes.
So Tamika, I was just telling the audience a little bit about the background, how we started. I met you through being my instructor at the WEBO class, and when I happened to be searching for information, I saw your name come up and you were running for office again. When I called to ask you about the questions I had, one thing we try to do on this show is when explanations are too long and drawn out, people usually tune out and they don't understand them. And when I came and asked you a simple question about the position that you were running for, the explanation you gave me was so simple and concise. I was like, you know what? I got to try to see if I can get you on the show. And here we are.
Perfect.
Ray got his pen and paper.
I try to do short, but not everybody's political, but you have to make sure people understand the process so they can feel invited to come and participate with the process.
All right. So this is, I guess, going to be another training class for us, because like you said, we put our show as we're the dummies. We're going to go through the process and learn, and hopefully the audience learns with us. So the question was, when we started searching through the races that are coming up in June, there were a lot of races that number one, I had no idea were going to be ran. And even once I started looking to trying to find out what they were for, I didn't really understand what they were about. So one of them is the race that you're running for, which we found out was state committee. So can you tell us a little bit about what that race is all about?
The state committee is an unpaid position that kind of keeps the state assembly and the state senators informed of what's going on in the district. So they're kind of like a liaison. So what happens is we have a county committee, which is done by blocks. So we have 2 blocks, and we have about like 200 and something roughly over, that's county committee members. So the county members take the 2 blocks, get their constituents together and say, hey, what issues do you have in your block and how can I solve it? Then we take it to the state committee woman or the district leader. Sometimes they're the same people, the district leader and the state committee person. So there's no really accountability for that. So we're trying to make sure that each position is accountable. So it's good to have one person for the district leader and one person for the state committee person. So it's just like a liaison. Just remember it as a school teacher that's trying to teach somebody. That's what the state committee member is all about.
And I think when you explained it to me, you said that basically the position that the state committee leader does that. Who is the position that there is an unpaid position beneath that, and where
the county committee.
The county committee.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
Right.
And that's run every 2 years on the city council level. So there's like the county committee, which is like right here. They have 2 blocks. Then it is the state committee, since we're doing state right now, and the state committee women. So the state committee women have a section. So this will be considered, B. So she has the whole district 68, which is roughly 168,000 people that she has to try to figure out how she's going to be the liaison and get everybody's voices heard at the state assembly and the state senator level.
You always got to have a point person.
Yeah. So that's, you have to, because right now it's like if you don't know who your person is, everybody's taking care of their little pockets. So hopefully this election and this pandemic will show the importance of everybody knowing everything for each other and helping as a team, instead of saying, okay, I'm in part A, I got part A. I'm in part C, I got part C. But what if the other people that's in D and E don't have nobody fighting for them? Then they're left off in the shuffle, per se.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, for people who aren't familiar for you, what is your backstory? Like, how did you get into this, I don't want to say line of work, but how did you choose this path? Like, what brought you here? Where did you start, and everything like that? I guess, people are going to vote for you. They're going to want to know, like, hey, how did you get here?
Yeah, it all started working with President Obama's campaign. One day I was in Central Park and somebody's like, oh, come and make some phone calls for President Obama. So I made some phone calls, but I really didn't know that it's going to lead to a job. So I uprooted my life and went to Cincinnati, Ohio for a total of 4.5 months. Because, that's the hot spot. Everything happens in Ohio when it comes to the presidential election. President Obama came in, President Obama came in and say that just because you're working here, everything does not stop. It still continue and move. And then one of my friends is like, you know what, you make a great candidate, so I think you should run. All right. So I came back in 2012. I ran my first city council race, which was 2013, but I had to drop out of that race because my daughter committed suicide. So I dropped out of that race, but I did good because I didn't know nothing about it. So my other friend from the Bronx was like, you know what? You make a great state assembly woman. I was like, state assembly? I was just doing city council. I don't want to go there. He's like, no, you make a great state assembly. So I started reading the laws of the state assembly and realized that that would be a better fit for me at the state assembly level than the city council, because I'll be able to make laws that affect the whole state of New York and not just the city. So in 2014, I tried to run the incumbent, knocked me off the ballot, so I didn't make it. I want to change the affordable housing laws that we have. Right now, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and they have an amazing affordable housing fund that they have to produce affordable housing. So I want to try to bring that to the state of New York. I want to create a renter's equity where you pay your rent, you get a little bit of equity, you decide that you want to go ahead and own something, you can take that equity from your rent and actually buy something that's affordable for you. I want to actually define affordable housing, because everybody be like, affordable housing, but what is affordable housing? Because what's affordable to me is not necessarily affordable to you.
Exactly.
And of course, my passion, is family law and making sure that each kid, no matter if they go on through the criminal justice system or through the family law system, that their voices is heard, and no other kid thinking that suicide is the answer because no one's going to listen to them. So I'm a big advocate for teenage mental health issues. Would you want to say, Troy?
what holes did you see that were missing or lacking from the current person in office that made you say that there's something there that the community needs that you need to fill?
When we no longer have an affordable housing in our neighborhood, and when people lived here all their lives, they couldn't stay in the neighborhood. And when I saw that the Pathmark closed, with no other opportunities to bring another grocery store, when I felt that no one gave me a call back when I called my elected official's office and, you know, have meetings
we know
and
that
meetings
too
get
well.
canceled. So you know what? I was like, you can do it, so can I. You know, I will be accessible. I will make sure I'm calling people back. It was like, is this BS? It's time's up. Go. So that's what made me say, you know what? I'm with it.
Like I said, by the way, that's a great story. I like it a lot. It's a very much like you know, it is. I think, you know, people get behind someone who's a fighter and determined. I definitely think you have that. I have two questions. One, did you really when you met Obama, what was it like? Did you meet him, or did he come in the room?
Right.
No, I met him. You know, he came in and did his little huddles and gave his little high fives and stuff like that. It was a really good experience to be in the room. 2012 when he was 2008. Yeah, his second re-election.
Now, let me ask you, is he as charismatic as they say? Like, does he have that, whatever that is, that you can tell right away? You can tell, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. That's a good question.
It's like, you know, it makes you, yes, it makes you like get excited to actually participate, if that makes any sense.
No, of course. One of the best things about a leader is they make you better or feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The other question I have is, I heard a lot in your story that you said you kept getting knocked off the ballot. If you could explain, like, how can someone knock you off? Yeah,
how
can someone just knock you off the ballot? It doesn't sound very democratic. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, it's not. It's not a very democratic process at all.
I don't want to say it, but it sounds a little shady.
It
I'm
is.
not saying
Not a line on him.
Hey, I just call it as I see it too. It is when you knock on people's doors and you get signatures, right? And the person signs your signature pages. So any registered voter in the state of New York can go down and look at those names and making sure that the person lives at that address. Kind of somewhat does the signature matches with if that person is registered at that address or they register at all. So you go line by line and you go to the Board of Elections and look at the little computer and you got the little sheet and you go line by line. The commissioner at the State Board of Elections will actually review it line by line to determine if that person is correct.
Is it a money thing? Is it a demographic thing? What do you see as the biggest change in the reason why affordable housing is such an issue in your district? Is it new people moving in? Is it developers kicking people out? Is it
the laws being put in place?
Right. Are they redistricting or rezoning things?
Yes, it's all of that. And then it's also our elected officials not lending their voice to say, not in my district. If you are going to do this, I need a little bit more.
So what kind of laws can get put in place in order to try to curb that?
Like in Denver and Pittsburgh, they have an affordable housing fund where the city and the state level actually fund this, and they have like criteria for developers to actually tap in there. And one of the criteria is that this housing must stay affordable. We have a lot of, and then we can look at the community land trust programs. We have a lot of vacant buildings that's in our district, and they can easily give that to a nonprofit organization, and the nonprofit can flip that into a community land trust program, and now we have more affordable housing. But instead, they want to be like, oh, NYCHA is broken, so we're going to have a private developer coming into NYCHA to fix NYCHA, but really they're just displacing people that's in NYCHA. Eventually, the whole NYCHA building is going to be for medium income, it's not going to be for lower income at all.
You answered my question. I was just going to ask, what type of buildings do you see that are getting replaced? Is it bigger buildings? Is it projects? Is it apartment buildings, tenements? Is it private houses? Or is it a little bit of everything that you see?
It's a little bit of everything. Yeah, it's a little bit little bit of everything is going to be taken off. You know, the affordable co-ops and condos is going to be slowly disappearing. The NYCHA developments is going to be slowly disappearing. And then all the landlords that's got these buildings boarded up and hoping that some big developer is going to give them a lot of millions of dollars to flip that. They just waiting vacant. Like if you go on 2nd Avenue between 119th and 120th, we got a whole row that's upstairs vacant housing that can be housed for the homeless and turn into affordable housing, but no one's making these people do that. I don't understand.
So it's just sitting there empty, useless.
Empty.
It could be put to a much better use.
That is correct.
Probably help the neighborhood.
Yes, it will help the neighborhood completely.
One of the other things that we talked about on a previous show is there are a couple of judicial civil seats that are coming up. And the hardest problem that we had as a show trying to find out what to do is a lot of those positions with judges, people can tell you about the laws that have been voted on by members of Congress, senators, and so forth. But to try to figure out how to vote for a judge have been one of the more difficult things that we've been trying to figure out as we appoint those people in, because we point them in now as a simple position, but these are the people that eventually move up to district courts, courts, Supreme Courts. So we want to try to get a better understanding of what do you think would be a good set of criteria to use to find out how to vote in a judge?
Well, we'll look at if they're on the bench, I will look at their bench records and try to find the cases. You can pretty much go to New York courts, and if you type in that judge's name, and it should roll down all the cases that judge preside. You know, it's going to be a little bit tedious. Sometimes you may not understand what you're reading, but you can get a good gist of how they view things by looking at the cases they review. I do a lot of Google search because I'm just like you. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, she sounds black, so let me just go pick her. Or this is a people of color. Let me go pick her. So I try to do my own little bit of research, and I do a lot of Google research now. Since I am the county committee member, they actually send me their invites and stuff because they are going up for judges. So I get a lot of judges write me letters, talk about come to my little fundraiser, come and meet me for coffee. So now I have a little bit of much of an end. Okay, the judge is not it. Yeah, they start courting you.
It's nice to have an inside look. It really is. Yep.
Yeah, because it's hard. Like you said, it's very hard to figure out. When I went to the convention last year, there was a lot of nice lawyers that I researched, and I was like, oh, okay, she'll make a good judge, and this will be really good. And then they start withdrawing and talk about it's not my time. I'm like, what you mean it's not your time? You sat here and pour your heart and talked about who you were and your good ideas, and then you're going to rescind and talk about it's not my time. And that's what's wrong with a lot of our New York politics, because everybody's waiting for their time to come into the fold. We have a lot of amazing, talented people that will make good judges, make good county committee women, state assembly women, state senators, but it's not my time. So people get scared, it won't go. So hopefully my race will be like, you know what, if she can do it, let me put my name in the fold because it can be done.
It's like you're saying, it's the people in power, and it's the people who actually have the ability to make the change and stepping forward, and them being too scared or too tentative to understand the power that they have behind them and move up and take the seat that they need to take. So that's a big part of it too. The people are already there. They have the ability and the skill to do it, but believing in yourself and knowing you can step forward and take it. That's the jump that people take to try to
I'm hoping in this election that we get a big turnover, because while I disagree with her on almost every one of her politics, I think AOC showed that you could 100% knock on doors, beat the pavement, and she beat the guy who's going to be, he's the number 3 Democrat in the House. You realize that there was a 50-50 chance if he got elected, he would have been Nancy Pelosi and not Nancy Pelosi.
I know. Well, thank God she won.
Yes. And think about it. She took him out.
Yes. Because people, it wants a connection with the state elected officials. They want to know that their voice is going to be heard no matter how it is. And people understand that, not 100% you're going to be contacting me or talking about how I'm doing, but time to time you're going to check in on me. So through this whole thing broke out March 16th, me and my team, we just got on the phone calls and say, call people and say, hey, how are you doing? Do you need food? Do you do mass? They was like, oh my God, you're elected official, you calling me? I'm like, that's what we're supposed to do, dude. I mean, I don't know no other way. We're supposed to be availing ourselves to making sure that that we're here for you. And if you have any questions, give us a call. And it's like a majority of people throughout the district was just shocked that I was offering food and offering masks. And it's like, okay, who are you? And let me call you back. I'm like, yeah, I'm the same person. I'm answering the phone. And this is how I'm always going to be, is accessible.
Kamika, are you in an elected position right now?
Yeah, it's the unpaid position. I'm a county committee woman for the 85th election district in 68.
85th and 68, okay.
Yeah. And that's coming up for election next year. So if I am the state assembly woman, I'm going to leave my county committee position and give it to somebody else in the community so we can have our checks and balances that we have.
Right.
I'm not going to hog the position.
It goes along with your accountability platform.
Exactly.
Now,
yeah.
Two questions. I hate to be the. How long is the term for the position you are currently in, and how long is the term for the position that you want to have?
2 years. Both of them are 2 years. Both of them is done every 2 years.
How did you feel about Bernie getting put back on the ballot? Do you think that'll help turnout?
No, people still ain't going to come out to vote regardless if he's on the ballot. I mean, we're New Yorkers. We got some diehard people like, I'm going to the polls, and some is like, nah, it's not going to help with turnout.
As you see it going forward, and because this was hard for me to try to look and understand, it was hard for me to see for a candidate that is not already in office voting on bills, how can you best way to try to see if I can hold them accountable? But only thing I was thinking is going and asking them each individual category and seeing what their stance is. What do you think on something like that?
Well, I think I'm a firm believer of looking at people and looking at their actions. So you can, even though I'm not an elected official, I do have a lot of things underneath my belt. So when we was fighting for $15 per hour, I was right in Albany, lobbying with everybody to get $15 an hour passed.
Oh, you went to Albany?
Yes, went to Albany plenty of times. So I'm no stranger to Albany. Every time I walk the halls in Albany, I already know where my office is going to be, and I already imagine me going, and saying that people's coming to me and we're going to be fighting. So I do a lot of lobby days at the state level as well as the city level. I fight for public education as well. Even though my daughter goes to a public charter school, we all have the same problems as well as lack of funding. So, I fight for just making sure that we get funding in our district and making sure that our teachers are fighting fair. So I have a track record that you can see. And if you look at my Twitter page, you can see everything that I'm fighting for. I am offline and online. I'm not an online candidate. I'm in the streets and I lend my voice. I lend it big. I'm a real component of bringing young people together and making sure their voices is heard. So I have a lot of virtual chats for kindergarten to 4th graders, 5th to 8th graders, and 9th to 12th graders, as well as adults. So they can come and bring the table, because that's how I'm going to operate as a state assembly member, because everybody has a stake in this community, not just a select few, and our children's our future. So, that's how you can hold people that's running for office, is their track record. Do they actually get in the trenches with you? Do they actually give you a call and making sure that you're okay? And if they answer all that, it's going to be, give them a chance. My whole slogan is, change is hard, but it's necessary, right? If we keep on doing the same thing over and over and over, before you know it, Harlem or Central Harlem or Carnegie Hall, there's not going to be an affordable New York for anybody, because what they can do in New York, they can do in Queens, they can do in the Bronx, they can do in Staten Island. They're just doing test by test to see if it's possible to do it. But if we have a lot of more people that's sticking up for us and saying, hey, we don't want that, it could be a little bit more fair. People like me, it's like a breath of fresh air, because we're like, hell no, that's crazy. Why is this possible? Or how is this possible? Why are you not fighting for us? Where are you at? Why you didn't call me? Why do I have to get gallons of hand sanitizer and you didn't provide anything for me to get it out? This quick fixes that could have been just easily fixed if somebody just can think outside of the box. All of our elected officials can't think outside of that box that they put them in, but it's time to think outside the box so we can keep New York affordable, making sure that we have a minimum wage that's livable. I'm a big component of $20 per hour with inflation, because that's how much we need. Really, $20 an hour is not going to be enough, but it's a start. If they can do 15, they can do 20.
And this is something I've been saying before. With the new people that's coming in, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's all these new ideas and enthusiasm to get things done. But the problem is when you don't get enough of them in office. Because if you only have a few people, you start to become the nail that's sticking out, and they look to hammer you down. And in the machine of politics, when you're that person, unless your will is that super strong, you start to see things going around you, and you see the people that are getting money from big corporations or compromising on their ideals, getting ahead while you're trying to press ahead the right way and not getting it done. If you don't have enough people beside you to push forward, I believe that's what kind of pulls the people that had that spark in them back into the quote unquote establishment and be part of the machine. So I think we need to move more people forward. And like you said, if this is going to be an election where so few people come out, that's when the few people that do come out, what we're trying to do is like the union members that we're trying to get to come out, and the few people, your vote counts even more right now, because just a few people can make that much more of a big difference, where you can get a sneak attack, and the people with all the money that spent all this money on the campaigns won't understand why a person with no money and no marketing end up came in and smashing them out the box. And it's because a few people came out.
Yeah.
Think about it. She said she lost on her elections by less than 1,000 votes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many people did we have as far as union members within the city? How many hundreds of thousands?
At least 100,000 people working in the 5 boroughs.
Yeah,
at least 100,000 people.
Yeah.
All you would have to do is get any one union to say, you know what? We're gonna go out and let's go get together. Let's talk on social media. We all gonna go out and vote. We're gonna put X, Y, Z in. They're in, and especially in the primary election, something small like this, they're in. All right. So as we start to wrap it up, I know. Well, we've been speaking everything about politics, but I don't know if you wanted to give any kind of final thoughts on your campaign. How can people vote for you? How can people reach you? How can people see what you're about?
Okay, so a little snapshot of who I am. You already know that I'm married. I have 5 cats and 1 dog. So in a cramped little apartment that I love really dearly. I'm a Girl Scout leader. I've been a Girl Scout for over 20-something years. Got 4 troops from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade that we meet every other Saturday through Zoom now, because the outside world is closed. You can reach me at my website, which is map.vote, or you can follow me on social media. My Facebook and Twitter is Friends of Tamika. Just spread the word and let your friends know who I am. And most importantly, if you can see myself, yes, that's me. If you can see me, if you can see me inside of you, I will be delighted to have your vote, because that is me right there. Yeah, get to see me. I would love it.
See where they can get you. See.
Yes, that is me. Reach out to Twitter. I respond to each tweet. I respond to each Facebook message. You can actually call the campaign number, which is on my Facebook page and my website. I will answer the phone. You will get me. If you need anything, masks, food, just hit me up. We have the supplies. We have everything ready to go. And thank you guys for hosting this and having me on. And thank you, voters, whoever you are. We can do this. We can get a New York that's profitable, affordable for each and every person. So thank you.
Thank you. Even the longest journey starts with the first step. Hopefully you're on the first step to a great journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. So that's been another episode of the New Labor Movement Show. We would like to thank our guest host, Tamika Mapp, for being on. Thank you, Tamika.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Thank you so much for coming on, Tamika. It was very enlightening. Thank you.
I'm one of your hosts, Troy.
I'm the other host, Ray.
And we are signing out.
Bye.